There is, I think there's a fundamental flaw in how we as human beings express gratitude. Like, the bigger the debt, the cheaper the words actually feel.
Oh, for sure. It's an incredibly asymmetrical thing.
Right. Think about it. When someone, holds the door for you or they buy you a coffee, a simple thank you works perfectly.
Yeah, the transaction is balanced there.
Exactly. The transaction is completely balanced. But when someone is the literal architecture of your existence, when their sacrifices are the reason you're even standing in the world today, buying a $5 piece of cardboard with a generic poem inside, just feels, it feels like an insult to the actual weight of the relationship.
It really does. It's the crisis of asymmetrical relationships.
Yeah.
We have this profound foundational emotion regarding the people who raised us. But our cultural toolkit for expressing that emotion is just incredibly shallow.
So shallow.
We're handed, like, a world's best dad mug to communicate a debt that is essentially infinite.
Yes, a mug. It's crazy. But today, we are looking at a text that completely refuses to use that shallow toolkit. We're doing a deep dive into the translated lyrics of an incredibly powerful song. The title translates to "Father, You Are Mine."
And it really is a masterclass in expressing gratitude.
It really is. Our mission today is to explore how this lyricist tackles that exact crisis of expression we just talked about. The text kind of deconstructs the architecture of parent-child love.
Taking those everyday feelings and putting them through what we might call a funnel of intimacy.
I love that phrase, a funnel of intimacy.
Yeah, because it's the perfect lens for this text, right? The songwriter takes us on this incredibly systematic journey. They start by examining the relationship from the scale of the entire cosmos. And
then they pull us all the way down.
Exactly. Pull us down to the biological rhythm of a heartbeat, then into the transaction of life itself, and finally into the quiet reality of just sitting in a living room.
So for everyone listening, I want you to think about the people who built your world, the foundational figures in your life. Keep them in your mind as we go through this, because the way this song opens puts our standard expressions of love to shame.
It really doesn't hold back.
No, absolutely no buildup. The very first lines are these monumental declarations. In English, it reads, "You are my sun," then "You are my moon," and then "You are my God."
Boom, right there. The lyricist is immediately establishing the Father's scale, using the most massive celestial and divine imagery available to human language.
It's huge.
It is. And it addresses a psychological truth about how we view our parents, right? Especially in our formative years. To an infant or a young child, a parent isn't just a person in the room. They are the entire environment.
That's so true.
They dictate the climate, the schedule, literally the availability of resources. They are everything.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because the specific choices of the sun and the moon, it makes me think of the Father as the actual gravitational center of a solar system.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Like, if the child is a planet, the Father is providing everything required for that planet to sustain life. But in two very different capacities. He provides the glaring, intense, guiding light of the day. That's the sun.
The vision, the teaching.
Exactly. The protection and the harshness of the waking world.
Yeah.
But he also provides the comforting, gentle, navigational glow in the total darkness. And that's the moon.
And that dual nature is so crucial to the text. The sun and the moon are omnipresent. They are life-sustaining forces. Even when you can't physically see the sun, its gravity is keeping the Earth in orbit,
Right. You're tethered to it.
And when you can't see the moon, it's still governing the tides. So by invoking these bodies, the text frames the Father as the alpha and the omega of the child's existence.
And then they drop the God line.
Right. Placing God immediately after the sun and moon, it elevates the whole thing from a physical dependency to a spiritual one.
Because calling a parent God right after establishing them as the sun and moon, it goes beyond just saying, like, you provide for me. It says, you didn't just populate my universe, you authored it. You created it from nothing.
It creates a dynamic of ultimate paralyzing reverence. The child is looking upward, staring into the heavens, just acknowledging that the Father is this massive, untouchable entity of pure creation.
But, and here's where I want to push back on this metaphor a little bit, or at least question the lyricist's strategy here.
Okay, let's hear it.
There is a problem with viewing a parent as a universe or a deity. A universe is vast, but it's incredibly cold. And a deity is powerful, but inherently distant.
That's a fair point.
Right. If I call someone my God, I am putting them on a pedestal that is so far away from me. It implies this unbridgeable gap. And I feel like the lyrics actually realize this, because right after establishing this untouchable cosmic scale, the text takes a wild pivot.
A huge shift.
We get these lines translated as, "To my eyes, you are the moonlight, and you are my breath, and aren't you the start of my dreams?" We just talked about the Father being this massive, untouchable God. Now we're talking about something as small and automatic as breathing. Why the sudden shift?
Well, what's fascinating here is
Doesn't zooming in shrink the grandeur?
actually, no, it doesn't shrink the grandeur at all. It solves the exact problem of distance that you just identified. If the Father remains the sun, the moon, and God, the love is a cold kind of worship.
Wow, okay.
By abruptly shifting from the macro to the micro, the songwriter is closing that physical gap. They are pulling that massive cosmic scale inward. The message evolves from, "You are the cosmos," to, "You are the involuntary, necessary rhythm of my internal existence."
You are my breath. I
I'm
mean, you
not.
literally cannot get more intimate than the air inside your lungs.
Exactly. Because breathing is an involuntary contract. We do it without conscious thought, yet, our existence terminates without it. The Father is framed as the literal biological mechanism keeping the child alive second by second.
Wow. Second by second.
And notice the specificity in the translation you read. The text doesn't just say, "You are the moonlight" anymore. It says, "To my eyes, you are the moonlight."
Oh, right. It's targeted.
Highly targeted. The light is being provided specifically for the child's vision. He isn't just a generic star in the sky. He is the star specifically powering their innermost dreams.
It's like the universe folding in on itself to fit inside a single person's anatomy.
The lyricist is brilliantly weaving the Father's presence into the child's autonomic nervous system. He isn't watching over them from the clouds anymore. He is powering them from the inside out.
That is mind-blowing. So we have a love that is simultaneously impossibly vast and deeply microscopic. The funnel of intimacy has moved from the outer space of the solar system right down into the biology of the child's chest.
Which brings us to the next conceptual shift in the source material. And this introduces a massive emotional conflict.
Yeah, and it's not a fight between the father and the child.
No, not at all.
It's an internal crisis within the child regarding how to actually process this reality. Here's where it gets really interesting.
We arrive at the transactional impossibility of the relationship.
Yes, the transactional impossibility. The lyrics basically confess that merely saying the phrase, "Father, you are my life," is just insufficient. The words fail.
Completely bankrupt.
Right, because language is utterly bankrupt in this scenario. So the child offers a staggering vow. They ask, "Shall I give you my life? Here, this is my word."
This is where we have to look at the psychology of asymmetrical debts again. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with unbalanced scales. Like, if someone buys us dinner, we feel a psychological itch to buy them lunch next week.
Yeah, to restore the balance. Nobody wants to owe anybody.
Exactly. But how do you repay a debt that is infinitely large? How do you balance a scale when the other person gave you the ability to exist in the first place?
You can't. You just can't. And that's what makes the phrase, "You are my life," feel so hollow here. People say, "You are my life," all the time. It's in every pop song, every romantic comedy.
It's a total cliche.
It is. But offering to surrender your actual life force back to the person who gave it to you, that is no longer a metaphor. That is an actual transaction being proposed.
Because it proves the ultimate inadequacy of our vocabulary.
Yeah.
The songwriter has already deployed the heaviest words available to humanity, right? Sun, moon, God, breath, universe.
They used all the big guns.
Exactly. And the child looks at that mountain of massive words and realizes it still doesn't equal the weight of the Father's care. When someone is the architecture of your reality, you cannot just say, "Thanks for the breath, Dad."
Yeah. Appreciate the lungs. The linguistic currency is hyperinflated. The words mean nothing.
So what is the only currency left that holds any real value? The absolute unconditional surrender of one's own life. It's presented as the only mathematically logical response to an infinite debt.
Wow.
When the lyric says, "Here, this is my word," it implies a binding solemn oath. The child is acknowledging that their life was only ever a loan from the Father to begin with. Returning it is the ultimate act of gratitude.
Returning the loan. Man, the funnel of intimacy has now moved from the cosmos to the lungs to the absolute surrender of the ego. It's incredibly heavy.
It is heavy, very spiritual.
But the song doesn't stay in that heavy, internal, spiritual space. The next thematic shift, and I love this transition, it pulls us out of the internal transaction and drops us squarely into the external physical world.
The world of achievements, success, and status.
Right. So what does this all mean in the real world? The translation notes that no gifts can equal your care, or some translate it as pampering, depending on the nuance. And then we get this striking image.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
The child declares that even if they were to conquer the world, literally become the supreme ruler of everything, they would still bow their head and be behind the father. And furthermore, just for a moment of the father's time, the child's life looks on with childhood innocence.
The text sets up this dichotomy between material, worldly conquest and the priceless, irreplaceable nature of a parent's nurturing. The lyricist is addressing the illusion of adult hierarchy.
The illusion, yeah. Because in society, we were obsessed with vertical climbing.
Exactly. We accumulate titles, wealth, authority. We measure our worth by how many people we command or how much territory we influence.
So let's relate this to the listener. Put that in a modern context.
Yeah.
Imagine you reach the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. You win the Super Bowl, you get a Nobel Prize, you become the literal emperor of the globe. You have, as the text says, conquered the world.
The ultimate success.
You have billions of people bowing to you. But the moment you walk through the front door of your childhood home and see your dad sitting in his chair, all of those worldly trophies just evaporate.
They mean absolutely nothing. The power dynamics revert to their purest original state.
It's like an instant reset.
Totally. The child realizes that external power is completely artificial when compared to the foundational reality of a parent's unconditional care. You know, you can conquer a planet, but you cannot conquer the person who taught you how to walk.
That is so profound. You cannot conquer the person who taught you how to walk.
In the presence of the father, the societal hierarchy dissolves entirely. You are just a kid again.
And you also can't buy your way out of that dynamic. The lyric says, no gifts can equal your care. You could hand your father the keys to a literal kingdom, $1 trillion in gold bullion, and it still wouldn't match the value of him simply sitting on the edge of your bed when you had a fever at age 7.
Because parental nurturing exists completely outside the economy of material goods. It cannot be purchased, it can't be traded or replicated.
Yeah.
And that final image you mentioned, looking on with childhood innocence for the father's time, it is incredibly revealing about human psychology.
It strips away all the armor we wear as adults, right?
Yes. It suggests that no matter how chronologically old we get, no matter how much societal armor we put on to face the world, a fundamental sector of our psychology remains permanently fixed as a dependent child.
We never really grow out of it.
We don't. We are forever humbled by the memory of that care. The text paints a picture of an emperor, a conqueror of worlds, standing in a living room with wide-eyed innocence, just hoping their dad has 5 minutes to hang out with them.
Adulthood is just a costume. Underneath the suits and the job titles, we're all still just little kids, hoping our parents are proud of us, and just hoping they want to spend time with us. It's such a gentle, quiet image compared to the blazing sun and the cosmic gods from the opening lines.
And that completes the funnel of intimacy. We have traveled from the epic scale of the solar system down to the microscopic scale of human breath, through the paralyzing realization of infinite debt, and finally landed in the profound humility of a child just wanting their parents' attention.
It really maps the entire geography of gratitude.
That's a great way to put it.
We start off staring into the infinite sky, painting the Father as the creator of the universe. Then we realize he is the involuntary rhythm keeping our bodies alive. We hit the wall where language breaks down, realizing words are useless, and we offer our very existence as collateral. And finally, we realize that all the worldly success we could ever accumulate pales in comparison to simply being cared for by him.
It is a masterful meditation on the nature of love, debt, and the structures that hold human beings together.
It is. But there is one final piece of this text, one last line in the translation, that completely recontextualizes the entire journey we just took. It's the closing thought of the song, and it lands with this lingering, almost tragic irony.
It brings the entire cosmic thought experiment crashing back into the reality of the present moment.
Right. After all of these massive declarations, after mapping out the sun, the moon, the breath, the surrender of life, and the conquering of worlds, the lyric simply asks, how to say this truth today in front of you?
It's the paralysis of magnitude.
Think about the beautiful irony here. We have just spent this deep dive exploring the most overwhelming, articulate declarations of love imaginable. The child in this narrative possesses a literal universe of love inside their mind.
They have mapped it all out perfectly.
They've articulated the math of an infinite debt. Yet the reality of the song is that the child is actually just standing right there, directly in front of their father, completely speechless.
They are trapped by the very feelings they just described. Having an infinite universe of love inside you means it is too large to fit through the narrow doorway of speech.
Too large to fit through the narrow doorway of speech. Wow. It is one thing to feel the cosmos inside your chest. It is entirely different to look the person who built your world in the eye and make it real.
It's the hardest thing in the world to actually do.
So as you go about the rest of your day, that is the thought I want you to carry with you. Think about the monumental unspoken truths that you hold inside yourself about the people you love, the people who are your sun, your moon, the breath in your lungs. You walk around carrying these massive truths every single day. But how often do you actually stand in front of them, look them in the eye, push past the paralysis of that magnitude, and find the courage to just say it?